is a really weird sight for me. The V1 trunk is open. It hasn't been open in minimum 2 years. It's only open though because we're pulling parts out of it. So this gigantic ice tank, I honestly forgot how big it was, fits pretty well on a spare tire. I actually had it custom made for this car, you know, even though it doesn't look like it. I ordered it from somebody that just told me, send them measurements. Had it custom made for this car, and bungs on there, the whole nine. But we are not going to be running it in this car for a very long time. This car it's just not time for this car yet. I'm going to go ahead and pull this tank out so Chip can have it. We'll see how well it fits in Chip. Man, if I knew what I knew now when this car went together, it probably would still be together, honestly. Look at that. These butt connectors with the built-in nasty heat shielding. Yeah, so, and then this was drilled in there because we ran 2 pumps at the time, because the way that the pump setup was, that one kind of cavitated and it would just pick up air. So we had to run a pre-pump. It was stupid. Every time I mess with this car at all, like if I'm pulling parts off it, like when I originally pulled everything off it, I just start to hate how janky everything was when it was done. It just bugs me so much because this car deserves so much more than that. And I did everything. Back then, I thought it was the best of my abilities. Now it's definitely not. And hopefully a couple of years from now, I'll really be saying this is not the best of my abilities, but everything was so janky. I'm sorry, V1, you deserved better than this. Okay, so let's talk ice tanks. So, I've been back and forth a lot on this. I was thinking about trying to buy like an aftermarket Cobra one that goes under the hood somewhere, like by the radiator or something. There was a couple different options, but they're all a little tiny, and I want to run a big pump, and you can't really put ice in them because they're so small. So that leads me to a trunk tank. Trunk tank like this. This is the one in the Camaro, obviously, and it's a nice one. I've had this for a while. They're not cheap though. This is like a $300 tank, which is kind of crazy because it's just a box of aluminum. Yeah, pretty crazy. So I didn't want to buy another one. Obviously, I don't want to spend $300. So I figured instead of just use the square one like that, I would pull the one out of the V1. And this one is gigantic. I honestly forgot how big it was. It was advertised as 5 gallons, but I don't know about that. This is what I mean by I was doing janky stuff back then. So you can see it has AN fittings on there, but we drilled and put this bulkhead one on there, so we had an AN fitting on the inside, because obviously these are just bungs on the outside. So we could run this secondary pump, and this was like the feed pump for the big pump, but look at how bad it is. Everything's rusted. It was like glued down, but it wasn't actually staying down. It worked, like this little 500 gallon per minute one. We usually run like that's got a Rule 2000, there's like a Rule 500, a boat bilge pump. They are not the best, but they do get the job done, but I am not running bilge pumps anymore. So once again, using my favorite tool here, nutsert tool, put a couple of riv nuts, nutserts, whatever you want to call them, into the spare tire well here so that I could just bolt this thing down. Gosh dang, that is a huge ice tank. A lot bigger than the one in the Camaro. I actually am curious on how much water this holds versus that little guy. It's a little shorter than that one, but it's way bigger. So I put the 2 bolts in the back with a little homemade spacer deal. That one's a little short still. I may need to cut a bigger one. This one, yeah, this one's a little short still as well, but holds it pretty tight in there. And then this front hole that I made, unfortunately, the nutsert spun. So you can Can you see that? This is why I said I like welding them, but figured I would just use the tool this time instead of welding them in. And look at where it got me. Classic. Guess what day it is? Maintenance day for the Camaro. It has been to the track 2 times and did some street driving and a bunch of bump box testing and trans brake testing without getting an oil change. So it's time to change the oil. It looks like I need to order a filter. I only got 1 filter left, I think, and got some oil here. I run Penn grade 20W50, about 7 quarts of it ish. So the problem is I did the classic thing which you do not want to do, especially on an ethanol car. I started it, I would only let it run for a couple minutes because I was either moving it around or something or other. I wasn't actually going to drive it. I didn't get it up to operating temperature, which would burn the E85 off, so you end up with a lot of E85 in your oil. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. There's a good amount of ethanol in the oil. It honestly looks pretty good right now, but for the peace of mind, it's nice to just change it. There is not a speck of debris that I can see. But this filter, the glue came apart. So that's pretty interesting. It's basically, from what I can tell, this is a filter failure. This filter has failed. So that's kind of crazy. Like, it should not just be coming apart like this without, you know, it shouldn't work like that. This oil does still look really good compared to oil I've pulled in the past, but it definitely has a bunch of ethanol in it. I can just smell it, but this is definitely a lot better. Probably didn't need to be changed just yet, but for the peace of mind and knowing when it was changed, figured I'd just do it. Just so everybody knows, this is the best tool ever. Well, you guys know I am a wannabe fabricator in training, welder in training, apprentice to myself type of guy. So I figured I would fire up the Feronius TIG welder over here and play around with a couple of these little kits that I have from Weld Metal Online. Really cool kits. Yeah, right there was pretty good. I sped up a little bit. That kind of helped me. That spot's not bad. Right there is probably my best one, where I was kind of going a little bit faster than the other ones. I think that's the key that I was missing here, is I needed a little more speed to counteract the heat. I had enough heat, but did not have the speed. Big job to clean this thing. Wheels are freaking nasty though, so try out their wheel cleaner. The fender wells, the inner fender deals are nasty. Everything's pretty gross on this car, so I'm gonna get to work on cleaning this thing. I'll tell you, this is a rare sight, me cleaning a car, but it does look so much better. It's still dripping wet, but it looks so much better. The wheels are actually shiny. I really do like these stock wheels. They're actually shiny, and the car is actually clean. Now, the fun part of drying it. All done. Not unlike any other time I wash my cars. I did a piss poor job. Okay, so I had to bring the computer in because I got to send a Datalog off to Alpha. The tuner, you guys know he tunes the Camaro. This is a Camaro Datalog, and I'm just kind of poking around, looking at it after the last pass that I made in the car, and I never sent him a tune. So figured it's probably about time. So figured I'd show you guys too. This is where I let off the trans brake button. You can see boost right here, rises. This is boost, map pressure, and the map saw 472 kPa. Pretty spicy. If you guys do the math on that into PSI, you'll know that's pretty spicy deal. We launch at 242, about a second and a half. So right after the 60 foot, all the power that we're gonna have for the rest of the pass is in. Obviously, we'd like to bring it in a little quicker. That's always the goal, is to have all of your power in as soon as possible. That is the way cars go fast. And 60 foots. You can see right here, this is where I shift at. RPM goes from 8,400, which is pretty solid. I like shifting about there. It's not too crazy high, so it's definitely better for the motor. I could rev it out a little higher. It's still making power. As soon as I shift, the RPM drops about 1,000, about 1,400 RPM, and then it kind of stays at 7,000 for the rest of the pass. And then it kind of carries that RPM until basically the end of the gear, where it finally finds its way up to 7,800. It starts to gradually come back up. That is exactly why I need a turbo 400, but that's a whole different discussion. And we end our pass at about 8,000 RPM. So with a gear change, we could definitely spice things up a little bit, but the car leaves nicely right now, so we don't want to go messing with it. As right here is our problem child. So inlet air temperature, it's at 100 degrees like as soon as we start the pass. So let's watch this one as we go. So start the pass at 41 degrees Celsius. By the time we're at the first gear change, we're at 90 degrees Celsius, and mind you, there's a slow acting sensor. And then by the time we finish the pass, all the way out here, we are 126, which is the sensor is pegged. That is as hot as that sensor will read, which is terrible. That is the last thing we want, is that sensor being pegged when we're seeing that kind of boost. It's just not ideal. So I am going to be trying a different water pump on the car, and I'm also gonna try to ice it a little more, because this is going up there with one kind of half-ass bag of ice. Honestly, I want to try to double bag it, especially when ambient temperatures are as high as they were. Like, this is like 120, 60 foots. We're pulling just over 2 Gs, and it's, it's good, but it starts to fall off, and we don't want it to fall off. So gonna send this off to Alpha, and he will look through it and tell me what I'm not seeing, because there's usually something I'm not seeing. He usually notices right away, but that's also why he is a great tuner, and I am just the guy that floors it. Well, as I've said before, this car does not need airbags. I deleted all the airbag sensors off the front, those little boxes that I didn't know what they were. They were airbag sensors. Deleted those, didn't need them. So this airbag can come out. The steering wheel airbag, it's kind of needed, because I think without it, the steering wheel would look ridiculous. if there even is an airbag in there. I don't know how Ford did it. I assume there's an airbag in there, but without it, it would look pretty ridiculous. This one doesn't need to be there. They actually sell a panel that covers this, and it looks really nice. So we're possibly gonna do that. Maybe I'll just rig something up, but I already unbolted it, so we can just pull it out, and voila, look at all the space we have. I'll probably mount the Holley Terminator right here, and then I can easily access it, and I can have wiring next to it, that kind of thing. Some people with Mustangs, they put them under the seat over here, like right past this hump. But to me, that seems a little not accessible enough. But if you do it this way, you have a bunch of wiring harness that you kind of have to like just like throw somewhere, basically, like loop it around or whatever. But I think it would look a lot nicer in here. And if you guys know, the Terminator has those lights, so it's nice to be able to see them easily. So I think I'm gonna do it like this. This is a little ripped. Maybe I'll either get a new one or just glue this one and make it a little stronger or something. But there's these little spots right here that are supposed to be Velcro, but not very good Velcro. I think I'll get like a couple of strong magnets and glue them to there like that, so that I can reuse this stock style filler panel. I cut it off the airbag, but look at that. So the ECU will fit right there like that. You have the lights that I was talking about that tell you, hey, your shit's going wrong, something's broken, let off the throttle, that kind of thing. You know, those lights that we tend to ignore, danger to manifold, that kind of thing. But we can have the ECU right there, and if I do one big panel, I'll have some room off to the side over here for some other wiring, and all the harness can kind of come through the firewall down here, go up and into there, but that'll look nice. So okay, just doing a little more playing around mock-up right here, and this is pretty much how it's gonna look. You're gonna be able to just pull that off with magnets, and boom, right behind there you have an ECU. I found this little piece of aluminum that I was using when I was doing some aluminum practice welding. Don't look at that, but it will work perfect for right exactly here. The ECU can probably go over a little bit, maybe forward a little bit, just so that there's more room back here for wiring, but there's plenty of room, honestly, for the harness. A little bit of room on the side for, I don't know, something, snacks, more wiring. I don't know how much wiring this thing's gonna need, because it doesn't need like headlights, taillights, that kind of stuff like all my other cars have needed. Those relays are already still built in, so it really doesn't need all that much. You know, the ECU should control just about everything, but we'll probably end up with like a bus bar or something. Next up is the gauge cluster. Probably end up pulling it out. That seemed like the general consensus was to put a just put the Holley dash in there. So let's start pulling that guy out. Well, I think it's safe to say this gauge cluster has probably been out before. Look at that. So there's an 8mm right there, and then there's like a hex headed screw right there. I think the 8mm is stock, and that one is not supposed to be there. So okay, so I pulled out the dash, and then I put this kind of trim panel back in just to see how it looked and to see how much space I kind of had. Here is the gauges, and I'm kind of glad I did do a delete on them, because you can see all that pink looks like water damage. I don't know how that would have happened. Hopefully this car doesn't like leak or anything, but it wouldn't be that crazy because all my other cars leak. That looks like there's a light down there that's missing. CTL conv. Looks like somebody I think these just kind of twist out, and it looks like, yeah, so somebody took this out, took it apart, and took this light out. The CTL conv, whatever that light is. Or maybe because this car's a base model, it just didn't have it, but it looks like it would have had something there. So little rough draft with some cardboard, and then I can kind of mock it up on another piece. I'll probably use 2 pieces of cardboard to kind of figure this out, but the first one, not bad. It was a super rough cut, just wanted to see how it fit flush wise. And let me just show you guys, once you put this in and a piece of cardboard like that, it really just like perfectly almost flushes up with it, so I don't really have to do anything too crazy. Looks perfectly fine. If that was just a like black piece of aluminum, you wouldn't even think anything of it. And then the screen will just go in like that, bolted to the piece of aluminum or ABS plastic, whatever I kind of decide on. I have some stuff around I'm gonna dig up, see if we can get anything nice looking. And then you just have to cut out for the back, and they give you a template, so it makes it really easy. So I'm gonna dig around, see what I have. If not, I can order a pretty small piece of ABS plastic. That's probably what I'll end up using, just because it's so easy to work with. So a little bit of cardboard definitely helps a lot. I need to remake this though because it's too small. I missed a couple of the screw holes. Gonna end up reusing the 4 holes, and yeah, should be pretty simple. Well, like always, I gotta go order some parts, but definitely cranking away on the interior on this thing. The interior is gonna look so nice once it's all done. It's gonna look, I don't wanna say so nice though, because that sounds weird, because it's still gonna look like a, you know, V6 SN95 Mustang interior. Basically, you know, the best interior 1995 had to offer for a V6 Mustang. I don't know, but it's gonna look a lot better. Everything's gonna like just fit nice and flow and be simple to work on. That's the goal. That is always the goal on a race car, especially something that you drag and drive and it doesn't come home every night. You can't mess with it, you know, at your house. You have to be able to service it on the side of the road potentially. Ideally not, but maybe. So definitely just cranking away on that. I gotta go order some parts. I want to edit this video because I am trying to get 3 out a week. You guys know that. And that's pretty much where we're at. So 1 like is 1 prayer for Bronte, because she has to deal with me refusing to get a haircut because I'm stubborn and it's bugging her. So 1 like equals 1 prayer for Bronte has to go out in public with me. But that'll do it. We got a lot of miscellaneous junk done in this video. I don't even know what all this video has, but it's got some stuff in it. So that'll do it. Thanks for watching, guys. Keep it saucy. I'll see you next time. Oh man, I gotta walk through the rain.